Good afternoon, Pin Hsin Lin, to the today's chat session. Let me introduce to the viewers of the chat session for today. Today we have Pin Hsin Lin for the chat session. She'd affiliated from Chinese as a second language National Taiwan Normal University, Taipei, Taiwan. Her paper title was A Study on Cross-Cultural Cognitive Differences of French Speaking Learners of Chinese from the Perspective of Conceptual Metaphor, a case study of anger and happiness. So, Pen Hassan, let me start with the questions for the chat session. Can you just present this topic, the particular topic that you have presented in the conference? Can you just share the nutshell for this particular topic?
Yes. So my doctoral research focused on metaphor, second language acquisition, cross-culture studies, and teaching Chinese as a second language. So in this conference, I presented a study that primarily compared the concepts metaphor of anger and happiness between French and Chinese. And this research is based on the theory of conceptual metaphor. Regarding the research design, I first used the modern Chinese balance corpus from Academia Sinica in Taiwan as the foundation to analyze sentences containing the word like, which is 像 in Chinese. From this, I identified common linguistic expressions related to anger and happiness in Chinese. And these findings were then used as the basic for designing interview questions in the questionnaires. And for the study participants, I conducted background surveys and interviews. Ultimately, I analyzed the interview results of 14 participants, integrating their background information for comprehensive analysis. And the research finding revealed that French and Chinese shared similarities in their conceptual metaphor for anger and happiness. And both language express anger using the metaphor anger is heat, and express happiness using the metaphors happiness is up, happiness is container, and happiness is light. And based on these research, it can be inferred that French students learning Chinese may encounter fewer difficulties in understanding Chinese sentences and expressions related to anger and happiness. From a teaching perspective, instructors can explain that subtle differences between the two languages and highlight specific vocabulary usage that students should pay close attention to. So this is a summary of the research paper I presented at the conference.
Thank you so much, Pin Hassan, for sharing the detailed paper with us. Now, the next question that I would like to ask you is, what are the basic challenges that you have faced during doing this particular research for the paper?
Okay. When conducting this research, I encountered two main challenges. So the first was finding participants who met the criteria for my study. Since my research requires students not only to have studied Chinese, but also to have at least an intermediate proficiency level to answer the questionnaire. So this significantly narrowed the pool of potential participants. And in fact, there are not many French students who go to Taiwan to study or participate in exchange program. And therefore, I'm grateful for Taiwanese research exchange programs and for the support from the professors and universities in Lyon, which made it possible for me to come to Lyon for academic exchange. And this gave me the opportunity to find more participants. And after arriving in France to look for participants, I encountered another issue. Since students learning Chinese in France do not have a Chinese speaking environment, I had to adjust my questionnaire design to account for this. And this was a relatively challenging aspect of the research. Ultimately, I revised the participants' criteria to include anyone who had studied Chinese, regardless of their proficiency level, and allow participants to answer the questions in their native language. And the second challenge I faced was designing the questionnaire. I needed to figure out how to phrase questions in a way that would elicit responses that could serve as research data. And I also had to determine the foundation for the questionnaire design. For example, what are the commonly used conceptual metaphors in Chinese and French for the topics of anger and happiness? And for example, what concepts are typically used? Which words are employed to express these concepts? So these were fundamental aspects that I needed to thoroughly understand before designing the questionnaire. And I spent a considerable amount of time analyzing and researching this part, which was one of the most challenging aspects of the research process.
Thank you so much for sharing your particular details for the challenges that you faced during doing this particular research. Now, the next question I would like to ask is, what was the motivation that you have generated doing this particular research?
So I had two main motivations for conducting this study. The first was that during my review of research literature, I noticed that while there is a wealth of studies on this topic, most of them focus on a single language. For example, many studies exclusively discuss English, Chinese, or other individual languages. And in case where cross-linguistic comparison are made, they typically involve comparison between or English and Spanish or Chinese and Spanish, etc. And however, there is a lack of research comparing Chinese and French. So this inspired me to explore how these two languages, from the perspective of conceptual metaphors, might exhibit linguistic cognitive performance and differences. And the second motivation stemmed from my teaching experience in Taiwan. I once had French students in my class who were exchange studying students studying in Taiwan, and these students were at intermediate level of Chinese proficiency. And on one occasion, I took them on a cultural field trip and asked them to discuss their impressions and feelings afterward. During the discussion, a French student told me, he said, "I think the food I had today was seasoned very gentle." And he said this in Chinese. But in Chinese, the sentence sounds a bit odd because we don't typically use the word gentle to describe taste or seasoning. And in Chinese, gentle is usually used to describe a person's personality. However, in French, according to the dictionary, the word gentle, which in French is doux, can describe the characteristics of things that evoke a mild sensory feelings, such as soft lightning. In French, they say une douce lumière, or a gentle horse, they say cheval doux. It can also describe calm or soothing feeling, such as a peaceful death. In French, they say une mort douce, or a good night's sleep. They say un douce sommeil. Additionally, it can depict personality or behavioral traits, such as a gentle and understanding man. They will say un homme doux et compréhensif, or a gentle disposition. They say une disposition à la douceur. And by comparing the French usage of doux, which is gentle, with the students' use of gentle in Chinese to describe taste, it is clear that the student was influenced by native language. And I believe this is very significant for students learning Chinese. When students use a second language to express themselves, if they cannot choose the appropriate vocabulary, their speech may lead to misunderstanding or confusion. And sometimes their words might even result in unintended miscommunication. And this issue isn't directly related to a student's proficiency level in Chinese. Instead, it is influenced by a broad range of factors, including the student's understanding of how the target language is used, their awareness of the connections between language and culture, and their native language background, etc. So most language courses primarily focus on skills such as listening, speaking, reading, writing, and students are less likely to acquire this type of knowledge and conceptual understanding in the classroom. So I believe that to enhance students' abilities in this area, teachers must first understand these issues themselves and then find appropriate way to incorporate this knowledge into their teaching. And this was one of my primary motivation for pursuing research on conceptual metaphors.
Thank you, Pin Henson, to share the motivation details with us. Now, I would like to ask you that what advice you want to give to the young researchers for today's research world on the basis of your experiences and things that you have done in this particular research.
Yes, based on my own experience and perspectives, I like to offer two pieces of advice to young researchers just starting in the field. The first is to actively participate in various international conferences. Whether or not you are presenting your paper, attending conferences allows you to hear research concepts, ideas, and findings from experts and scholars in different fields. And from these experiences, we can learn more about research methodology, which is incredibly helpful for developing our own research skills. If you have questions related to research presented, you can directly approach the authors after the conference to discuss and learn from them. So I think this kind of direct exchange is highly beneficial for conducting research. Additionally, attending conferences help us to stay informed about the latest research trends. I believe this is very important because research builds upon the foundation of previous study or to uncover deeper and more comprehensive insights. If we are unaware of the latest trends or the current developments in our research field, we may struggle to keep up and risk limiting the scope of our work. The second piece of advice is to read a wide range of research literature. I believe reading research paper is a fundamental task and learning process for any researcher. If we want to conduct research, we often have many ideas and questions about a specific topic of interest. These questions are usually not directly addressed in the coursework. So if we want to find answers or gain inspiration from different perspectives, we must read research literature. And if we don't read enough, our research will be significantly limited. Moreover, research literature forms the foundation for writing research papers, as it often includes important theoretical frameworks. So we must understand these theories in order to build upon them and apply our research idea effectively. From research literature, we can also learn about the methodologies used by the other researchers, how those methods were applied, and which methods might be most suitable for our own studies. Another critical aspect is that research papers often include sections on limitation and recommendations. And I think these sections are especially valuable, particularly for qualitative research or studies that involve experiments. So qualitative research often involves recruiting participants and conducting experiments. If the research experiment you're planning has been done by others in a similar way, you can learn from the challenges they encountered and adjust your research design accordingly. This can result in more effective and accurate research outcomes. Even if no one has conducted similar experiment or surveys before, these sections on limitation and recommendations can guide us in thinking about how to design our research in a way that avoid potential pitfalls. By reducing the likelihood of errors in our research design and experiments, we can increase the chance of producing more valuable research results.
Thank you, Pinanson, on sharing the detailed description for the advices for the young researchers. The basic advices you have given, that would be very grateful for the young researchers to go for that. And now I would like to ask what was the positive feedback about the conference you have experienced?
Yes, I am very grateful to TRA for accepting my research and giving me the opportunity to present it. And I would like to encourage everyone to participate in this conference too, as it offers flexible presentation options and includes keynote speeches. In addition to presenting our own research, we also have the chance to gain insights and ideas from different fields through the keynote presentation. And the unit has done an excellent job organizing the conference too. Even if technical issues arise during the presentation process, the host and staff address them quickly, so allowing presenters to proceed with confidence. So I believe participating in this conference is a very meaningful experience.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you for attending this chat session.
Thank you.
We are honored to have you as a participant in the conference, and
Thank you
it
so
will be
much.
very great to see you in our future upcoming conferences also.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you.
Peninsular. Thank you. You're most
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.